Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us today for yet another set of Pearls of Wisdom. And today we are here with Dr. Grace Kalimugogo. Thank you very much for inviting us in and letting us really take a journey through your life. I will actually turn on my video so people realize I'm not talking to a vacuum. So yes, thank you very much for inviting us in. We're very pleased to be here. Apologies for the slightly delayed start. Underestimated the traffic on a rainy day on the road, but here we are. Pearls of Wisdom is a monthly program where we sit at the feet of our elders, people who've gone before us, people who've journeyed and taken the turns and twists of life before us, just to learn from their experiences, or even just to take a breath and not be too hard on ourselves when we encounter issues and we think we're the only people who've actually had this happen to them. So today we're with Dr. Grace Kalimugogo. We're pleased to have you here. Welcome. And we'll be moderated by Dr. Grace's daughter, Dr. Kalimugogo. Pearl, over to you. Thank you very much for lending us Mom.
Morning, Sophia. Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Greetings from Windhoek, Namibia. As Sophia introduced, my name is Pearl Kalimugogo, and I have the honor and privilege of hosting Pearls of Wisdom number 9. And I get the opportunity to interview my very own mother, probably something I've been waiting to do all my life, to interrogate her. No, I'm just joking. But yeah, this is something that we're both looking forward to. We've had a lot of time to discuss and plan for this session, so I'm really looking forward to it. I would just like to once again welcome everyone. If you don't mind, just put in the chat where your name and where you're logging in from. I know that there are people coming from all over the world. I see many of my friends from Namibia. I know someone was logging in from Australia, and I'm sure other countries. So it would be nice to know where we're logging in from. Just some Zoom etiquette. If we can just keep our mics muted, feel free to post any questions on the chat. We'll try and respond to them as soon as possible. How the format will work, we've prepared some questions for Dr. Grace Kalimugogo to tell us about, and then we'll have a Q&A session after that. Okay, so I don't know if I should call you Mommy or Dr. Grace. You're very welcome. Maybe you can just greet people before we start.
Hello, everybody. Very good to meet you. After so many years, I should have met you, at least the Gayaza girls at Gayaza, but good to meet you. And you others, very good to meet you on this Zoom meeting.
Okay, thank you very much. So we will not share biography about Dr. Grace Kalimugogo because this is why we are here to unpack her story, her life story. There's quite a lot we want to cover. As you saw from the flyer, there's a lot that she wants to share with us, going from her childhood, education, life as a diplomat, health. There are many things, but I'll try and touch on a bit of everything so that we can glean as much as possible from her today. So to begin with, just please tell us about your childhood and how it shaped you into the woman you became.
I was born in Ruchiga County then of Kigezi district, but now it is one of the new districts, though it doesn't have its infrastructure yet. My parents were quite uneducated. My father went to school briefly to learn how to work with the church. My mother was a farmer, housewife, but they embraced Christianity early. And my mother was active in Mothers Union, and the father was a teacher. So that shaped our early life. And that's why we girls of those days managed to go to school, because of the church, plus the missionaries who were working with them. We were in a large family, 9 children, many cousins. The house was permanently full. So that one also contributed. I think my people know I love having people, other people around, which can be a problem. And what shaped my life also, I was number 7. I had many role models to follow, my brothers and sisters, and it helped me a lot even in school. I had books to read. Before we touch a lesson, I may have read something just casually. So all that helped me a lot.
Okay, thank you very much. We know that you went to one of the best schools in the world, if I might be as bold to say that. That is Gayaza High School. So for those who don't know much about Uganda, many of the schools in Uganda were single-sex schools, and Gayaza High School was one of the first schools that was started by missionaries, and quite a, anyway, I don't want to go into it, but just to give context. So my mother went to Gayaza High School, as did I. But could you just please tell us briefly about your education, just your journey from primary to university, and what you attribute your success to?
The primary school was in a very, very rural Ruchiga County then. And we were lucky. These were church-affiliated schools. It helped a lot because those days the schools were linked to religions. So after what we called primary 6, I went to junior secondary school, which that time was run by missionaries and some Ugandan teachers. Again, that helped us a lot. They would help with teaching, was very strict and serious. Even in primary school, by the way, we had very, very good dedicated teachers those days. So from rural areas, you could compete seriously with people from the cities or towns. That again helped us move forward. Plus our parents' zeal for educating children, girls and boys. That was rare because girls were to learn how to write and then get married. So we were very lucky with my elder sisters and one younger one. We were lucky because that was what the church helped us with. Otherwise, we would have finished primary school and stopped there. Junior secondary school in Kavade was, again, very good, 2 years. And in fact, that's when I was in junior secondary too, that's when Uganda attained independence. Then we passed. The schools were very few secondary schools for girls especially, but we managed to pass and go to Gayaza High School. 6 girls from our junior school. Entering Gayaza the first day was very interesting. When we arrived, first of all, we thought we were in London. We didn't know we were in Uganda. The people spoke English. We thought it was the Queen's English. Only to find it was later on that it was average. But the fact is, the teachers were again very dedicated, and we had to work, both housework and lessons. A number of us from parents who are in the church, they knew we couldn't afford. So the headmistress, Ms. Cox, got me and maybe others a scholarship from Canada, which covered me from S1 to S6. And of course, you had to perform and deliver. So without the church, I don't know where I would have ended, but plus the pushing of the parents, our mother was very strict. First, you didn't have to envy other people. She would tell you off or beat you. One time, the teacher gave me a sweater. When I came wearing it, she said, if you borrowed it, take it back, before I entered the house. So that's what has shaped many of my life experiences. Gayaza, those days, even now they perform well, but those days, almost every year it was the first in Uganda in O level. The girls were hardworking, but also to the teachers. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So just to move a bit deeper into your education, I know you don't like to talk about it since I've known you all my life, but if you interact with people who knew you in your childhood, many of them talk about how hardworking you are, how well you performed. Could you just share a bit about, what drove you in your education? Obviously, there is God-given intelligence, but I'm sure there are other things that contributed to you making it despite all the challenges.
One is the quality of teaching. I think the teachers made it very interesting. You had to be attentive and learn. Afterwards, there was revision. Gayas had a culture of reading, not just for exams, but reading novels. So regular reading also helped. Then we had to read in groups. Depends on who you are with, but much of the success I attribute to the teachers. Some teachers, once they teach you, it would go into your head if you were attentive. So being attentive, during holidays, many times I didn't have enough time to revise. So this was coming from school. There was housework in the village, so all came from the school, but the determination and the family and relatives urging one to work hard and not fall off by the wayside. There were always warnings about falling off by the wayside. So all that helped. But again, I thank Gayaza High School because it was very easy to more or less swim through because of the good teachers.
Okay, thank you very much. So it wasn't just one individual thing you attribute your success to, but many things, a system, a society working together to ensure that you succeeded. Just talking a bit more about education, the world has changed drastically so much from when you were in high school or primary school, even university. But many education systems, particularly in Uganda, have remained the same. What advice would you give to parents to help them better prepare their children for life in the modern world?
That's a difficult question. Of course, life has changed a lot. There are many more challenges the children face. So it's the parent to be present, be there for the child, be present in the home, because we become busy with work. We leave the children, say, to the domestic stuff, and we think that is enough, or leave them to the teachers, but that's not enough. Teachers at school, coaches, that is not enough. The parent has to be present and monitor not just education, but the social behaviors, because now there are many, many more challenges like substance abuse, all that one has to monitor and give time to the child.
Yeah, thank you very much for that pearl of wisdom. I think it's very important that, you know, as parents, we parent our children, not just about education, but life itself. Okay, so just moving on. So Dr. Grace Kalimugogo is a medical doctor. She was the first female medical doctor from Kigezi. Just for our non-Ugandan audience, so Kigezi is one of the regions I would say in Namibia. I know there are many people logging in from Namibia, the equivalent of a region in Namibia. So she was the first female medical doctor from there. Something that I, as her daughter, I'm very proud of, and you know, I ended up following in her footsteps. What inspired you to pursue a career in health?
There are many reasons. One, our headmistress, Miss Cox, knew how to control her students. She decided what so-and-so should do. Of course, one could say no, but she really advised, and I can't say decided. Because I recall one time we tried to join Kianda College for secretaries in Kenya. People would go after O-level, and we applied and were accepted. For some, she said, yes, you can go. Others, she said, no, you are not going there. So that is number one. Families and relatives, we had some doctors, vets, who also encouraged me to apply for medicine. But also, without thinking about it, later on I was told by my parents that I used to like helping, especially animals. Maybe I should have done that because I used to help animals, and I was reminded one time that when I came for holidays, my father would say, oh, Grace has come, my dog is going to eat properly. So maybe that linkage, maybe it meant I like people also, but I liked what I followed.
Okay, thank you very much. So just trying to make the connection between your training as a medical doctor and your career. Could you tell us just a bit more about that journey, becoming a medical doctor and then your career?
Yeah, the studying was quite easy, but it was a big transition. That's when Idi Amin came, and the lecturers, the Europeans, we had very many Ugandan Asian lecturers who were also very dedicated. Even the students who they worked very hard, so we were obliged also to follow suit, because during exams, the Asians would come first, then the others follow. So we had to work hard to fit in, but then they left. Most of them had to leave, actually all of them. And then the lecturers, there was that transition transition, but we had many Ugandans who were also very dedicated, and we managed, because with the external examiners, the performance continued to be good. So after we qualified, I worked a bit in Mulago for a short time, but I had married a foreign service officer who eventually was transferred to Ethiopia. There was a dilemma whether I stay behind or follow him. Eventually, I followed him to Ethiopia, where I worked with the Ethiopian government, and then joined Organization of African Unity, which later became African Union. But work was not easy. Having a young family, a young doctor, many times, I'm sure it is still the same, most of the work is done by the young doctors, the donkey work, as we call it. You have that, you have night duty, you have small children at home. And my husband, the way they were bringing up boys those days, assisting, it has gone off. Assisting in the home was not present, but that's the upbringing of those days. Now at least boys learn to partake of this and that in the home, but that time it wasn't there. So it was not easy. And I feel I could have given the children more time, but that's how life was.
All right, thank you. Yeah, maybe we can talk a bit more about it. I think there are many career women here, maybe even career men, if I don't know if we use that term, but how did you make it work? Because obviously you raised your children, we are here. I think all our children are here. And you know, as children, we don't necessarily see what our parents are going through or the difficulties they're facing. But how did you manage?
I think, as the Gayaza motto says, of never giving up, you move on by hook or crook. You plan this, you run here. For example, the Ethiopian health sector, if you were on night duty, you had to do your day work also. So you could disappear from home for, say, almost 30 hours. And those days, telephones, we didn't have mobile phones. The phones calling home were not easy. But somehow, because that was the life, you managed, but it was many hours of liaising, organizing, and one has to be also firm and strong. And I think determination. You say, I'm going to do this, you do it. I have this responsibility, you cover it. I think that's what I can add. It is just, these days you call it multitasking.
Okay. Did you have a support system, you know, people you relied on, friends or family who, you know, were there during those tough moments of juggling many things?
You see, if I had been home, that would have been very easy. Get a younger sister or somebody to hang around. But in Ethiopia, one had to depend on domestic staff. They were good, but completely illiterate, so they couldn't help with the work. But for the care, they tried their best. But we also had many Ugandans, Tanzanians, and Kenyans who became really relatives. They were aunties, uncles in a proper sense, and then some colleagues. So that helped a lot, but it can be very, very difficult when you're abroad, more or less alone, but we managed. And the relatives at home were also encouraging, writing letters, which would take 2-3 weeks if you're lucky. We couldn't afford telephone calls, so it was letters, and it was wonderful to receive letters from family.
All right. You've reminded me of something when we were a childhood memory. There used to be these aerogram letters from the post office, and you used to encourage, I'm putting that in quotes, encourage us to write letters to different relatives around the world. The one I remember very vividly was writing to my cousin, Dr. Florence Bayengana, when she was living in Canada. But I remember you were constantly encouraging us to keep in touch with family because we were not in Uganda. But yes, what you said is very true. I think for us as children growing up in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, the Ugandan community there became our family. Your workmates became, our aunties and uncles. The East Africans, my godparents are from Tanzania. So yeah, I think a very important lesson here is that, if you have to leave home, it's important to create another home, to create another family to keep you going. Otherwise, you may end up struggling alone unnecessarily. Okay, so how would you define success? And what are 2 good habits that contributed to your successful career?
Define as what?
How would you define success? And what are 2 habits that you have or you had that contributed to success in your career?
Thank you. Before that, maybe I should add, though I said my husband wasn't helping with housework, at least he gave me peace to run here, there, using his car, and I didn't have a car at first, using his car and his fuel, running after patients. And so I would like to acknowledge that he didn't harass me for moving about too much with my work and assisted me. But of course, he hated housework. Yeah, so the success, I think if you have a goal, you plan to do this, and even at work, you deliver and you feel appreciated, that is success. And with the challenges we mentioned of running a home, working, doing what, you manage to bring up your children and have them educated, I think that's success. I think it goes from the home environment and then at work. So I think that's what success should be. Was that the question?
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. What advice do you have for people who are considering an international career?
Yeah, that has many dilemmas, because sometimes the salary is a bit higher and one looks at the economics only, but it has many challenges. Sometimes you go, then you never come back, so you have to decide whether you belong to the country of origin or you are emigrating. Yeah, so one of the things is to see where to be sure where you belong. Keep one leg at home, one leg where you are, and thinking when you have a family, deciding what to do with the children is difficult. You want good education, but send children abroad, maybe that's where they have gone forever. You send them home, there are challenges of adaptation when they're grown up in a different environment. And then you have holidays. I recall some people preferred when they're on leave to go to Europe, Francophones France, maybe Anglophones to UK. Others come home, others go on tours. So all those influence what you are doing and what you plan. And working with the international organizations, Uganda has a failure or a challenge of focusing on English only, whereas many international organizations have 2 or 3 languages. So when you join and you have only English, you are at a disadvantage. So it is good, those who have younger children, to see that they learn at least Swahili and French minimum, plus other languages. For example, East African community, many jobs are going to people from countries which have French and Swahili, so Ugandans are lagging behind. Others, like where I was, there were 4 languages, and many people had at least 3. Ugandans had only 1. Hardworking, Ugandans are very hardworking, but then you will not even get promotion or get good jobs, because in interviews, languages matter. Maybe the issue of language we have to address.
Yeah, so if you're out there considering an international career, take note of that key advice. I think one of my friends here, Dr. Mireille Kakubu, must be smiling because she's Francophone, she speaks Swahili and had to learn English when she came to work in Namibia. So just a reminder, and I think it's not too late. Some of us may think we are over the hill, but I believe we're still young enough to learn a new language. Okay, I want to shift gears a bit and talk about your life as a senior citizen. So in Namibia, those who are over the age of 60 are called senior citizens. How long ago did you retire from the AU, and what have you been doing since?
I retired, I came back to Uganda 2010. So that's over 12 years ago. Adaptation when you retire, especially you've been living abroad, is a bit challenging. You have to more or less start from zero. You've lost touch with your friends. You've lost touch with the systems. And so many changes have gone on in Uganda. So adaptation was a bit of a problem. But my husband had retired earlier and was already here. So that made it easy. But he was sick, So I had to look after him. I had to look after the homes. Usually we have a home in the village, a home in the city, which we thank God for. At least we had a home to come to. We didn't have to rent and finish the little money we have. So we already had a home, but I had to manage most of the things because my husband was not well. Then I've been busy following up on my career. That was a bit difficult because I had been away over 30 years and starting from zero with people or looking for a place. At the same time, I was very busy with also social issues. You know, I think this is every African country. You have many social issues, weddings, funerals, especially where you must be once you are around, because I had missed that being abroad, but I had to relieve the relatives who had been covering me. Then medical help, I helped many people, social support, and going up country, running a home in the village and coming to Kampala. I'm very, very busy, plus housework. I have to do this and that in the home. So I'm very busy, but formally practicing medicine, I'm not, but I do practice, but informally.
Okay, thank you. Just talking a bit about our father, your husband. He passed away in January 2015. And obviously it was a very devastating time for us as a family. And I know loss, you know, it's part of life. We all experience it at some point in our lives. What advice or encouragement can you give to people here on the platform who are dealing with the loss of a loved one?
Yeah, it can be very difficult, but usually one has to pull oneself together and manage, because you have to move on. I was lucky because I was already 60 something and the children had finished school, but others unlucky, you have small children to look after, education, maybe no accommodation. So in a way I was lucky, it happened when it did. But again, I had to carry on alone with the support, of course, of the children and other relatives. So to manage, first of all, one has to keep busy, not sit and groan and feel sorry for yourself. You have to move on and manage what needs management. There is a lot to do, legal matters, physical. So one has to ensure you continue with what needs attention. And of course, keep in touch with friends and relatives, because the social support is very important. And that's what helped me a lot. And of course, the children were there for me and themselves. We've been quite close, and they advise. These days, they advise, it isn't me giving orders or telling them what to do. So it has helped a lot. And economically, I also managed, because I had a little pension from the my husband's old work, civil service, and this is very important to have some plan for what you use when you are old. One was, I said we had a home where I didn't have to rent, but you need a lot of medicine, you need what? So there has to be a plan for some finance in the bank or investment. So we didn't have much investment, but there was something at least for managing the day-to-day things.
Okay. All right. Maybe we can talk a bit more about investment. Yeah. What advice do you have for preparing for the future? A large part of the workforce in Uganda, but I think around the world, is dependent on salary income. But we know, I think if COVID has shown us anything, is that it's a very fragile foundation. What advice can you give about preparing for, life, just being prepared, for a rainy day, but also for that time when, retirement calls and we need to, we don't find ourselves, stuck, homeless, living hand to mouth. So what advice do you have about preparing?
Yeah, this is very important, and it should start actually when one starts work. Even if you have 1 million, maybe it is important to put aside on a fixed account 100,000. I think life of a diplomat, I was asleep with my head in the air until one time when I was in Uganda for my younger sister's wedding. One aunt, illiterate, I don't think she knew how to write her name. She asked me, what do you own? What do you have? I said, nothing. She said, wake up. And that's when I started thinking of looking for saving and looking for a place to buy and as a house for us. But long ago, the civil service used to make life so easy. The salary was enough. You come, you find the house waiting for you with some furniture. I think this spoiled the old civil servants, but things have changed. I think now people invest more. They think of at least having accommodation. And of course, investing in land is, if possible, because land, you can keep the land, you can use it, or you can sell it when there is need. And keeping something in the bank, treasury bonds or similar, is very important. So I think as time has gone, I see that the younger generations have learned a lot compared to the civil servants who did they inherit independence or it inherited them. Life was too easy for them, and really they were not doing much. When I started work, life was a bit more difficult, but the transition has helped a lot. So I think many people are planning better, but the planning should start early, not 1 year or 2 years before you retire, but then it is late.
Okay. Thank you for that very important advice. And it's very important to reinforce messages. As you said, people are now more aware of the importance of savings and investment, but it's always good to reinforce these messages. I'm going to shift gears to talk about health. We are medical doctors, public health professionals, and for as long as I can remember, you have been a very health conscious person. I just have all these memories in our childhood of you will not leave the dining table until you've eaten your spinach, eat your fruits, drink water, and it has continued even into adulthood. I remember, I think when I was pregnant with my second child and you came to visit, obviously, when you're due any day, you just want to sit because you're so heavy. But you kept me, you would take me for walks, get up, move around. So you've always been a very health conscious person. Why is a healthy lifestyle important to you?
A healthy lifestyle is very important. And as we hear day in, day out, that prevention is better than cure. It's important to prevent and cheaper to prevent disease than go for treatment. For example, if you can prevent diabetes or catch it early and control it, it's cheaper than going on treatment. The same with hypertension and other problems. Some cancers, some can be prevented, some not. So it's very important and it is more comfortable anyway. And for example, drinking enough water. Many people who die from malaria or diarrhea and vomiting die from dehydration, not from the disease itself. So it is very important if one ensures, even if you are sick, drink enough. Don't go immediately on a drip, whereas you could have drunk water.
Okay. Thank you. What advice do you have for people who want to live healthier but don't know how? I think many times the desire is there, but translating it into action can be challenging. Do you have any advice for that?
Yeah, I think this starts all through one's life. For example, at Gayaza, those days when we were there, we used to learn health science. And at least you'd know what is required. Even when we went to medical school, we had learned some of the things at Gayaza. But health science was abolished. And we were lucky, of course, to be in a good school. But many people are enlightened, even the uneducated, because I recall when I was expecting my mother from the village sending a message by letter that I should eat. There is one dark green vegetable, and we know those dark green vegetables have a lot of iron, but she sent a message that I must eat it. I must use it a lot. Of course, there was something else in Ethiopian, but I'm just saying part of this education comes from the home. The mothers and fathers, of course, have their knowledge, telling children to eat their vegetables, to drink enough. This starts at home. And later, there is education, sensitization, and governments usually try their best actually to educate people, even in the village. You see posters in the hospitals, they teach people, but sometimes maybe we don't listen enough. And elsewhere, it's a sensitization, regular, persistent.
Okay, thank you. So the information is out there. So we're just, what I pick from what you're saying is the information is out there. What we need to do is out there. It's just about doing it, starting it, start eating those vegetables, start taking a walk, whatever it is. It's about putting your mind to it. You know, cancer it's often considered a taboo topic. We don't like to talk about it because it's associated with, you know, the side effects of chemotherapy, and even death. It's associated with horrible things. Many people may not know that you are a cancer survivor. Could you please share your story with us?
Yeah, thank you. One thing I think is to remind, especially the doctors or others, you become so busy with your work, with helping others, and I think it is very common. You forget yourself for the cancer screening, for diabetes, pressure. You find, you remember in the Bible where when they were saying physician, heal thyself. I think we tend to forget ourselves, focusing that life of running here day and night. You don't spare time for yourself, and that's what happened. Yeah, I had uterine cancer, and fortunately, I thank God I've been lucky at all levels, from starting life in the village, deep village, ending up in the best school, girls' school in Uganda, medical school. So that luck was still with me. So I had good treatment in Nairobi, and afterwards monitoring, checking every year. So that is 2000, from 2001 August. Now that's how many years. I've tried also to advocate, to educate other people, but this was something that could have been avoided. I was careless, and I think many of you who are careless, I've told people, go and do this. There is service which is free. Sometimes some hospitals call, say, before end of the year or certain periods, they call people for free service, but people don't go. So it's very, very important, and this sensitization or education is for everybody. It isn't just for the medical people. The women, even the men, need regular screening. For the men, prostatic cancer is very, very, very common. I think in Uganda a lot. I'm sure even other African countries compared to European countries. So men especially don't think they need to go for a checkup unless they are sick. Women try a bit harder, but this is for everybody. And all of us have to be involved, whether we are aware, whether we are doctors or not. We need to be involved because the education, the knowledge is available to everybody.
Thank you. Thank you very much for sharing your story. We were part of it, we were witness to it. In fact, I remember very clearly when 9/11 happened, I was with you in Nairobi with two of my cousins. and you were undergoing radiotherapy, if I remember correctly. And it was not an easy time. So we are forever grateful and thankful that you've pulled through. And yeah, something that I learned from you and Daddy was the importance of going for annual medical checkups. And it's something that I try to do to this day. So I think the key pearl here is the importance of doing checkups, but also doing what you can to prevent diseases of lifestyle, so hypertension, diabetes. And I must say that you've been exemplary in that. You've shown us as your children, as your peers, the importance of living a healthy lifestyle and the importance of checkups, the importance of screening. As you said, the information is out there. There are campaigns recently in Namibia. There was a breast cancer awareness campaign in Namibia. November they call it Movember, which is the Men's Health Awareness Month. So the information is out there. Again, it's about looking after ourselves and being brave. Sometimes going for a medical checkup can be scary, but being brave, scary or uncomfortable, but being brave to go out there and do something. All right, I'll do a time check right now. It's the top of the hour, so it's around 3 minutes past 10 here in Windhoek, Namibia, 11 in Uganda. I'll just hand over to Sophia briefly.
Okay, thank you very much, Pearl. Again, lovely to be here in Kansanga in the home of Dr. Grace Kalimugogo. Thank you very much for allowing us to listen to your life story. But anyone joining us, possibly for the first time, this is a monthly event. It's on Zoom mostly, but where we have guests that are welcome for us to join them in their homes. We do that. It's important for us to kind of look each other in the eye and listen firsthand. And this is what it is. But it's really an informal chat, as you've seen, where we try to get some knowledge and wisdoms out of our elders. Often, and this is an initiative we started last year, where we found that we were getting these snippets of knowledge from our parents, but on the go. When something happens, you've kind of hit a pothole in life, and then your parent says, "Oh, but you should have talked to me. I've gone through that," and you had no idea that they'd had these experiences. So this is what it is. It's a monthly chat where we go through our parents and our elders and listen to their story. Nothing formal. And so if you like what you've seen so far, please do listen out for what comes next, and encourage us to speak to your own parents and your grandparents and anyone that you feel would give us a few nuggets of wisdom. So thank you very much, Paul, for hosting. I'm enjoying listening to both of you. And of course, this is something that Paul has looked forward to. So Paul, I enjoy speaking to you. I'm sure there's some of those questions that have come up as you've prepared for this, so you think, "Oh, I've never actually asked about this." And so I advise that anyone who would like to speak to their parents, the joy comes more from you who's had their parent on than the people who join in, because you learn who your parent is, or your elder. You learn a bit much more about them than you did before. So Paul, I hope you're enjoying this, and all your siblings. I've seen them on the chat. Alex as well, you're welcome. I hope you're all learning much more about your mom, who you already know is a phenomenal woman. But please do join us for other episodes. So over to you, Paul. Thank you very much. You're doing a great job.
Thank you, Sophia. So we have a few more questions, and then we'll open up for a Q&A session. If you have any burning questions and you feel you might forget them, please just post them on the chat. Mami, I have just a few more questions for you, then we'll open it up. Do you have any, no, let me put it this way. Please share one or two of your most memorable childhood memories. Okay, that was not good English, but
Mhm. Childhood memories. There are many. Those days, life was different. One of the memories, what we look forward to was we would get a new dress. Usually we had one dress or so, and they use school uniform. So Christmas, we had to have a new dress to go to church. The day before, there would be drums, rejoicing. I think we understood a bit about what all that meant, but there were, and of course, feasting. That's when people would have meat. Where we grew up, it was vegetarian diet. So one of the memories I could say is that that period. Another one, there are many. It's hard to decide which ones, but some of it is other. When you finish primary school, you find you pass with first class to go to junior. That is very, very important because there are some who couldn't proceed from there. Then from junior, passing to go to Gayaza, one of the few in the country, because we were coming from all over Uganda. So being one of those few. So the memories are very many, but off record, maybe I've thought of those two.
Okay, thank you. I remember you told us that when you were young, you were very tall and skinny, and I think your nickname was translated into English, Beanpole. Am I right? I'm spilling the secrets. Okay. I'm not sure if you're okay. Are you there? Just checking you're there. Your screen had frozen.
No, we can hear, we can see.
Okay. All right. What values from your upbringing would you say you passed on to your children and to your grandchildren?
One is the urge to work hard and study. I've stayed with the grandchildren and I had to make sure they did their homework or what. So one, when he started university, when he came to pass by, then he left. He knew that was one of the regular thing. And values of how to behave, how to be good because of the challenges which are on. As I mentioned earlier, substance abuse, that is something I've been trying to pass on. I don't know if I've succeeded, but that is a regular thing. And being strict and serious with whatever you do and honest, what you do at school, at work, and strict. I think these people used to think I was very strict, but I don't think I was. But I think maybe that one is the same, being strict and monitoring what goes on.
Okay, thank you. I think the connectivity, I don't know if it's on my side, was interrupted. So there is a question here. What do you do for fun?
Yeah, that depends on how you define fun, because my fun is very simple. For now, at this stage, sometimes meeting friends, having tea and relaxing is fun. Reading, I love reading. That is something from Gayaza High School. I love reading. I don't move anywhere where I'm going to spend time without a book. When I used to travel, I had books for these transits where you get stuck in airports. So I still read, fortunately, and I read anything. Yeah. My husband used to tease me. I could read what he read and read other things. He asked me one day whether I was studying for PhD. But so that one is fun for me. And then the books, cheap, expensive. I even read Mills and Boon, if you don't know it. Then I have my Telemundo. I watch those films. I enjoy them. Everyone laughs at me, but I enjoy them. And okay, other issues like that. But so that's my fun. And of course, when I talk to grandchildren or play with them, that is my fun. And other related issues. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for that. I think fun is what we make it out to be. Fun is personal. Thank you for that. So we've come to the end of the interview session, if I could call it that. I'll just give you a virtual round of applause. Just thank you very much for your time. And the floor is now open for questions. There are already questions in the chat. Before we go there, I would like to say, to confirm that yes, you were strict. If in case you were not sure, I just want to confirm that you were. And I think my children, if they were here, I think they've logged on another computer, will confirm that their mother is as strict as their grandmother. And one of the things that I learned from you was the love of reading, which I still do up to now. One of the things that Mommy and I have done for quite a number of years is exchange books. So if I buy books, I'll send to her. If she buys books, she sends to me. So right now I'm actually going through many of the books that she sent me, maybe even 10 years ago. I'm rereading them, and it's just it's something I feel keeps us connected. Okay, so I'm going to go through the chat for some of the questions, but if you would like also to raise your hand and ask, there'll be time for that. So the first question is, from this talk, we can pick up that your faith contributed to this success story. Please tell us how you organized your time for prayers and devotions.
I think all our lives, many of us, and from school guided us, because even when we were in Kabale Junior School and Gayaza, we had prayers every morning, and I think evening was voluntary, and every morning, and of course Sunday. And when we grew up, of course, we used to pray at home, of course, before we eat and before we sleep. So that was in the culture of the family and the school. At university, maybe it slowed down a bit, but still we had the chapel to go to, and sometimes in groups. The same with Ethiopia, we had our church, and then the groups, the ladies, we had our prayer groups. Some still go on actually on WhatsApp. Some, we have one from India, one from Myanmar, Tanzanians, Kenyans. So we are still in touch in that way. That helps me a lot because I understand them well. Here, I'm not so active. I think the 30 years I spent away didn't help very much, but still I'm in touch. But more with those people I was with for many years in Ethiopia.
All right, so the next question is, did you ever practice medicine within the Ugandan healthcare system after you qualified? And how easy was it to transition to the Ethiopian one?
Yeah, I did internship, then worked at Old Mlago Hospital, for those who know it. Those were the difficult days when many of the experienced people had left Uganda. And I worked there, but then I left for Ethiopia. But maybe what I should mention is that after many people left, there was a shortage of medical staff. So we who were medical students in third or fourth year, you are learning how to work in the wards, work with patients. But that time we were obliged to work supervised. We had to see patients, but the senior doctors would have to see and countersign what you decide. So actually we started working early. So my experience started before I qualified, but this was under supervision, and we had good supervision that time. So I didn't work that long. But when I went to Ethiopia and worked in the Ethiopian government, again, there was a transition. That's when they had also had their political changes. They had been having Americans, they left, and the communists came in from Russia and Cuba. So again, they had a shortage. So adapting was not difficult because the diseases are more or less the same, except they may have more of one type than we have here. The issue was the language, but because I had to work many hours, I had a translator from Amharic to English and vice versa. And slowly, of course, I learned a few words I could manage somehow, but I and other foreigners had nurses, medical assistants used to work on their own, but nurses or dressers who would act as translators for us.
Thank you. The next question is, do you have any lasting regrets? I realize we cannot do much about the past, it is gone, but hearing about regrets may help us as we negotiate life and the choices we may need to make.
Yes, some regrets. One is I had education, medical education, free of charge from government, and I didn't work here enough. That's a regret. But when I was working in AU, of course, I was covering Africa, so somehow I was covering Uganda also. That is one of the things, but you can't control everything. Another regret is, as I mentioned, working so hard. And for a woman, also those old days, I don't know about now, you had to really work hard for people to know you are serious. It wasn't a matter of just coming and going. So putting so much energy and emotion into the professional work. At home, I think maybe I may have neglected a bit, not given enough hours to the children. I tried, but I could have done better, in my view.
Okay, thank you. I think one of the things we're learning in this day and age is the importance of self-compassion. You know, looking at what you've done right, what you could have done differently, but still accepting yourself and being able to bounce back without, you know, the guilt or shame. So thank you for being open about that. The next question is, what common mistake or mistakes do you see people in the age range of 20 to 30 make repeatedly that impacts them negatively in the long run?
Of course, for younger people is this peer pressure, where actually the restless people, you think you use the word cool. You say they are cool and try to follow, whereas maybe it is not in one's character, and end up falling into trouble. Following the social habits that are negative, you enter them blindly, you don't know. And I'm going back to substance abuse, because when one is young, there is a problem of not listening to advice. Actually, one thinks they are brighter than the older people. Keep referring to your time or your during that time, whereas one can fall into trouble. So one of them is following peer pressure, not thinking for oneself, letting others think for you, and then you fall into trouble. And the substance abuse, I have talked about it a lot, but it's something that is really an epidemic and needs attention of all of us, children, adults, medical and non-medical. So I keep harping on it, but it is important.
Yeah, thank you for
and
that.
Of course, there is also wanting to be rich quickly. They see somebody who has done something, maybe taken 10, 20 years, somebody who has just graduated, say, I must do this. And this is also confusing many people. Either they end up stealing and falling into trouble, or over trying to, I think it is competition. That one is also another problem.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I'll just read some of the comments before I go to the next question. Great pearls of wisdom indeed. Grateful to tap into the wisdom shared today. Thank you so much, Drs. Grace and Pearl, to let us into your space and journey of life. May God bless you mightily. That is from Julie. From Naomi Mutegaya, this is a good initiative. Thank you, Dr. Grace, for sharing, and for Pearl and others for organizing this. Excellent discussion. From Catherine Agava, what a beautiful and great discussion. We're very blessed to be part of it. God bless you lots. Sophia is talking about strict. Strict is certainly a word that is synonymous with the parent for our generation. This was certainly not something that I appreciated growing up, but I'm certainly grateful to our parents and neighborhood parents that they stuck to their guns and shaped us. Okay, we'll go to the next question. I think you've touched on it here and there, but how did you manage to balance such a busy work life with family?
Yeah, we had touched upon it. It's and I use the Gayaza motto of never giving up, looking at things that need doing and ensuring you do them. It was not easy. Some days you sort of feel confused, but really not much to add. It had to be done. You do it, you run here, you run there, you reach home around 10 p.m. Somebody calls you. The medical services in Ethiopia during the communist days were quite difficult. So people depended on individuals they know, and it happens here too. So it was not easy, but somehow I managed. Actually, it was like private practice within a practice, because you finish work, then you hear at the gate, somebody's coming, or somebody who can't come, you have to go there. You've started doing something, you run off, but somehow I managed, but to say how it happened, hard to say.
Okay, thank you. Probably we need, Sophia, a session on work-life balance. It's a recurring theme today, and also mental health. Okay, so the next question is, thanks from Dr. Lydia Mpango in Eswatini. Thanks for the lovely session. Could you share your experience on balancing our different roles as daughter, wife, mother, employee? So similar to the previous question, but a very important aspect is, how do you find time for self-care? So looking after yourself amidst all the juggling you're doing.
Again, that's something, I think at first I wasn't thinking much of myself. I was busy seeing what to do for the children, the husband, the work. So self-care at first, I think, was secondary. Then later on, through interaction with other people, we would go for sauna, for other, or even walking. Again, that goes to having friends and social support. For now, it's very easy, but as I was developing, at least when I was living abroad, it was not easy. But now self-care, I can plan anything. It is easy. I have the time, I have the will and the urge, because of course we who are older, we know we need to do a lot more to promote our health, the physical activity, the eating. So self-care is better now than it used to be.
Yeah, thank you very much. So what I've picked from what you've said is, it's important to plan for self-care. Just as we plan for other things, other people, we need to plan for self-care as well. I think many times we may feel guilty when we, plan a me day or some me time, but it's very important for ourselves and we shouldn't feel guilty about it. We deserve it. So thank you for that important tip, to plan for it. And something else you also talked about was the importance of your support system, your friends, your sisters, there to support you and doing fun things together. All right, I'll read other comments. Let me see, where did I go? Yeah. Lucy says, interesting talk, great lady interviewed, happy to have listened in. Thank you. Philippa, so blessed to participate because of jet lag. God works in mysterious ways. Thank you for sharing. Lovely to see and hear you. Salome, thanks a lot, Dr. Pearl and Dr. Grace, for the remarkable discussion. Sanyu and Francis also logging in from Windhoek, Namibia. Thanks for the words of wisdom. Katie Batty, Katie is my workmate and friend. This is such a lovely event. Thank you for including me. Many words of wisdom. Thank you. Edith joining in from Kenya. Thanks, Dr. Grace, for sharing your life with us and being open and real. It's really encouraging listening in on this discussion. Thanks, Pearl, for this great moderation with your mom. Beverly, thank you for these insights, friends, social support, self-care. Liv, Nyaika, thank you, Dr. Grace, for sharing your pearls of wisdom with us. I've learned so much. And Elizabeth, thanks for sharing, Auntie Grace. So those are all the questions from the Zoom chat. I'm going to now open the floor if anyone would like to ask a question. The floor is open. Please just unmute and ask your question. I'm told that there's a question from the audience. Please go ahead.
Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. Most certainly learning a lot. I have but two questions for the lovely Dr. Grace.
Who are you?
Sorry. I am Adil Ali Kajiri. I am a son to Sophia Chibiri, our host, or the hostess, Pearls of Knowledge. So, the lovely Dr. Grace, what advice would you give to aspiring young workers to achieve success or to have better stability in life, like to balance work and life, family?
Yeah, thank you very much. This is an important. As everything else, one needs to be forward-looking and follow a plan. Because once you start work, first there is a salary which you have to plan for. Because sometimes people say you work, you go home, you must go out, socialize. You go to socialize, you finish your salary and start borrowing money. So you need to plan and again, not follow peer pressure. First, at work, you have to be serious. At work, there are many difficulties. Getting on with colleagues, delivering or learning, because when you start work, you are still a learner. So you have to be humble and learn from others. Don't say, I know this, I have a degree, I have what? No, you are still learning. Even we who are over 70 are still learning. So you have to be ready to learn, respect your colleagues, your supervisors, and you have a home, you again have to plan. It isn't just coming in and going. You have responsibilities at home, you have to manage them, but mostly respect yourself, respect others, plan for what you are above what you're earning. You end up in debt, so start borrowing. Again, borrowing is a problem. So those are some of the advice for younger people. Oh, we are too near each other. Okay.
Right, thank you. I'll just read a few more comments. Suzanne, also my workmate from Namibia and friend. Thank you so much for your time and your insight. I've enjoyed this so much. Great start to my weekend. Sylvia, thank you for the lovely words of wisdom. I've definitely taken a couple of notes. Okay, we have a few more minutes before we close. Are there any other questions?
You have another one. Yes, go on.
I'd love to ask another question. Dr. Grace, what advice would you give to the younger audience on how to handle the social pressures that come with our youthful age as we grow up from our teenage years to our 20s to our 30s? There are a lot of teenage pressures that come with that age. How would you advise us?
That's very, very important. The pressure is so much, and one has to be firm, and this starts at home. It should be like a song reminding the children, avoid this, run away from this, because think for yourself, think twice before you take a decision, because you'll meet people who will try to persuade you. Some know what they are doing, because people recruit others to recruit younger ones into bad habits. So from home, the parents must start talking and teaching children. The teachers, this is one of their roles at school. Many of us are aware, even in primary school, whether in the city or in the village, these pressures exist. So it's the role of everybody in the society, relatives and friends. You see a child moving off the tangent, you have to talk to that child to see how to advise or alert the parents before it is too late. So it's not easy, but one has to have determination, learn from others, because one can see those who have suffered from following the peer pressure. So if you see so-and-so has fallen into trouble, you avoid what made that person fall into trouble. And but this is the role of everybody, family, youth, even at school. There should be pressure from those who are enlightened against those who are trying to confuse other students.
Okay, thank you very much.
Is it okay?
Thank you.
I'm sure you can chat some of some tea. But if I could add, since we have this platform, I think peers become pressure when we bow down to doing things that we don't want to do or we know that are wrong. So it's very important to have a strong self-identity and know your values, what is right, what is wrong. And I think it's a matter of balancing. Is it more important for me to be liked by my friends or being true to who I am and my values? I know it's not easy because society really has put so much on popularity, but it's a journey of getting to know who you are, your values, and making a decision not to stray from that. So some more comments just before we close the meeting. David Mafigiri, thank you, Drs. Grace and Pearl, for sharing your experiences. Thanks for the team supporting the discussion. I must admit it is a reality check, in brackets, mostly regrets for me. Yet I feel encouraged that all is not lost yet. Family, service, continuing education, be blessed. Thank you, David, for that. You know, for as long as we have breath, it's never too late. That is what I believe. Hilaria, also my friend from Namibia and who has visited Namibia, says, thank you, Dr. Grace, for the words of wisdom. Sophia, I think I'll hand over back to you, but just to thank everyone for this time, for making the session possible. It wouldn't be a session if you didn't make time to come here, to be here, to listen. And I think we can continue the discussion. There's a lot of recurring themes that have come up, the importance of supporting one another, helping one another. So let's continue the discussions offline and let's help one another do life, live life successfully, happily, you know, purposefully. Sophia, over back to you.
Thank you very much, Pearl. I enjoyed sending out the messages about this because we literally call this Pearls of Wisdom. And then usually it's the prized mother of pearls. So we've had mother of pearl over here giving us the various pearls of wisdom that you've got over the years. Thank you very much, Pearl, for moderating. I think one of the things that I'd like to touch on is growing up, we didn't have social media. We didn't have that much TV because TV started late in the evening. And even then, the programs on there were not so engaging that you left everything that you were doing to be on TV all evening or whatever. So we had a lot of time to interact with our parents. But even we didn't get enough as they did with their own parents and grandparents, because our parents, you didn't have the likes of TV and things like that. So your interaction with your parents and grandparents was so much stronger. You had these wisdoms every day from them. Oh, don't do this, don't do this. So it was easy for you to perhaps pick up those songs that they kept singing to you. Avoid this, do this, do that. And in this time and age, we struggle to get those touch points with our elders to learn. And the Baganda have a saying that translates that which comes when you know will loot very little. So if a storm is coming and you know, then you pad the house and prepare. And it won't take everything. So this is what we're doing, trying to learn and even enjoy, just take a bit of a smile out of our lives because of an experience that you've had or someone else has had. And these conversations, when we have them, are supposed to spark more conversations amongst us as the people who've been here, but certainly for the family members who've had their parent as the main guest, that it sparks that conversation. It sparks that, gets that closeness and togetherness. Sometimes it's with the immediate family, sometimes with wider family. I'll share very, very anecdotally the time we had my mom on the show, and one of my cousins who lives abroad, who spends a lot of time communicating with my mom. After the session, she sent my mom a message saying, "Oh, I didn't know that you actually got educated, that you had an education, but it had never come out in conversation." So it's something as obvious as that, where she spent a lot of time with her auntie, but she's never actually realized that. She assumed she wasn't really that much educated. So it's that it will spark that wider conversation. We hope that all of you learn something, even if it's a single pearl that you can take with you. All will not be lost. Again, over to Dr. Grace. Thank you very much for joining us today. If there's any final words that you'd like to leave with us, any encouragements or warnings or anything that you feel that we can benefit from, please.
Yeah, one is everyone have mentioned these two, this Pearls of Wisdom. This program has said it's very good, and many more should be doing it. And really, it's very good. I could say excellent. First of all, that you are keeping in touch. First, you are friends, you were classmates, you are friends, you are keeping in touch. And this is a good way to keep in touch. And also learning from each other and from other generations. So please keep it up. It's a very good idea. Maybe others will learn from it, but it's a very good idea. So don't let it work. Anyway, keep it up. Very good to meet all of you online. I was very happy with the question to share what happened, because many times many of the children who have grown up now, even relatives, never experienced the proper village life. Many used to it going to the villages, but life in the villages can be enjoyable. I think families need to expose children more to village life. It was enjoyable. Games, as you said, there was no TV, no telephone, but we had games to play during the day, games to play at home, folk tales, singing. Actually, most of the advice, now when you analyze it later, it was advice to children, but sometimes they wouldn't tell us properly, but we learn a lot. Healthy lifestyles, we were eating fruits and just picking fruits in the village and eating. We didn't know we were living a good life. You just pick that time, but many of them now are extinct. Those fruits are no longer there. We didn't know that's how we got our vitamin and managed. Now we are on supplements, but so I'm really thankful. I'm happy that I was invited to this session. I appreciate and look forward to meeting some of the classmates physically. I'm very happy to have met you and your son. But I've met some, but not everybody, but we will meet others with the time. So please, class of 1991, keep up this good work. And the others who attended, thank you very much for honoring us with your presence. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Grace. Paul, have you got anything else to say, or is it, that's it? Okay, a round of applause from Paul. So anyone who's missed the session today or would like to relive, because it's always good to listen to this again. I've done it before. You pick up even more powers from when you listen to it a second time. We will be publishing this on YouTube. It's been recorded, so we'll put it on YouTube on Tuesday, 8 p.m. Uganda time. So God willing, that will be let people know about this. You'll be able to listen in and re-listen to this this inspirational and extraordinary story by Dr. Grace. Thank you very much. We pray that we've got the strength and tenacity to go through life and not be afraid of what's to come, but embrace it through the words of wisdom that you've shared with us. Thank you very much, everyone, and listen up for our next guest. There's a tentative date for the 12th of second weekend of December. I forget whether it's the 12th or not. It's the second Saturday of December. We will be confirming with our guests. She just had to check with her diary, one or two things. So I wouldn't like to name that guest and then find that we replace someone else in that. But it will be the second weekend of December. Do look out through the channels that you got this message. Look out for messages on more of the powers of wisdom. Thank you very much. Okay, we're thanking again the classmates of Dr. Grace from Gaza. Thank you very much for
attending. And please, 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 if anything that she has said has inspired you, please get in touch. We would like to listen to your own stories. You took different parts from Dr. Grace. We would love to hear your stories. So do get in touch with her, and then she can get the messages back to us so we can speak to you as well. So thank you very much, and have a good weekend. God bless everyone.